Home is where the heart is, and Mizzou is our home, right here in the midst of what really matters. From the middle of a state that's in the middle of the country, you'll find the University of Missouri, fueling the farthest reaches of what's possible. As Tigers, we're perfectly at home in a state that's pronounced two different ways. This is where opposite ideas attract incredible opportunity. Here among small towns and thriving cities, serving all walks of life, is where the Tiger spirit thrives. Where grand challenges are solved around columns of strength. Now, more than ever, the Mizzou Alumni Association depends on the unwavering dedication and support of volunteers like you. Your work brings our students and alumni together. You breathe life into the traditions and connections that make Mizzou strong. You are advocates and ambassadors for the University of Missouri, not just because of your Tiger spirit, but because your actions show your stripes to everyone around you. And no matter where in the world you are, you bring other Tigers together and remind us we're never far from home. Thank you, leaders, for your service and commitment. And welcome to the 2020 Mizzou Alumni Leadership Conference. It's a great time to be together as Tigers. Welcome home.
Welcome home.
Good morning. My name is Robin Winokur, and I serve as the president of the Mizzou Alumni Association Board of Directors.
And I'm Sabrina McDonald, president-elect. Robin and I are proud to serve Mizzou with you and grateful that you have answered the call to connect with one another and with our university as part of our first ever virtual Alumni Leadership Conference. Leaders Weekend has been a great MAA tradition for decades. Now, more than ever, this conference is a vital part of preparing leaders for the important work we have to accomplish for the University of Missouri. Tonight at sundown marks the beginning of the Jewish holiday Rosh Hashanah. Jewish New Year is a reminder of the possibility to renew relationships. Let's each take inspiration from that and embrace this chance for us to come together as alumni volunteers in shared purpose and service. Let's align in our important work to make Mizzou even stronger. While this year's event looks different, we are energized by our record-breaking conference registration, more than 250 Tigers, and committed to putting out a robust and meaningful event that honors your volunteerism and brings leaders together to learn, share, and grow in our service to Mizzou.
Your volunteer leadership is critical to the success of the University of Missouri, and we are excited to celebrate your impact during the Alum Leadership Conference 2020. I hope today offers the opportunity to reflect on your why. Why do you love Mizzou? Why do you volunteer? I also hope you come away from the conference inspired to continue to share your time and talent with our university. My why is most likely the same as many of yours. I simply would not have had the life I have without Mizzou. My father and my maternal grandfather came from modest families. Without scholarships, they could not have attended Mizzou and earned a college education. Those degrees and experiences shaped my life and created my passion for Mizzou and higher education.
Like so many of you, my motivation to volunteer is fueled by the desire to contribute, to make a difference. I am often drawn to run toward the challenge. Raising my hand to engage and to actively participate in early 2016 was all of that for me. At a time when some Columbia locals and even some alumni had become reticent, or even worse, naysayers, I felt drawn to advocate for the university that had meant so much to me personally and professionally. I believe the University of Missouri has a unique mission for the education of Missourians and beyond. And I believe the town and gown relationship between Mizzou and Columbia has never been more important. As an alumnus and a member of the business community, I want to be an integral part of the network of support for this vital institution.
We are alumni leaders for Mizzou during a transformative time. The power of the University of Missouri is unmistakable. It has an astounding impact on society. Through education, through creative and scholarly activities, through research and economic development, and through engagement with our community, the state, and the world.
We all know that it can be easy to lose sight of the remarkable power of this place to change lives. But the fact is, Mizzou is an inspiring engine for innovation, knowledge, and public service. As alumni leaders, we are challenged to show everyone in our personal networks just how Mizzou is impacting the lives of people around the world. Take that notebook from your conference box and jot down the brag points you hear today. We want you to be proud, but we also want you to take action and share all the ways that Mizzou is making a difference.
Share your Tiger Pride by tagging at Mizzou Alumni using your personal, chapter, or organization social media channels and our conference hashtag, #MIZIsHome. My fellow alumni leaders, it is show me time to brag and emphasize Mizzou as a destination university for the world's best students and faculty, producing stellar alumni like each of you that are improving our world.
We have planned a full agenda to strengthen us in our shared support of Mizzou. Today, we'll have the opportunity to connect directly with Mizzou's top leadership. They want to hear from you, so please utilize the submit a question opportunity that you see at the bottom of the video window, and we'll get as many of those answered as we can. We'll also learn about new initiatives to enhance the Mizzou experience. We'll advance our understanding of topics and tactics that draw the Mizzou family closer together, and we recognize the outstanding service of our alumni leaders and affiliated organizations. We may not be together in Columbia today as we would all prefer, but we are together in Tiger spirit. Mizzou is our home. Thank you for taking time to celebrate our home in your home and in your heart.
We are proud to kick off the Alumni Leadership Conference with the President and Chancellor of the University of Missouri, Dr. Moon Choi. Good morning, Dr. Choi. There he is. First, congratulations.
Great to be with you.
We're happy to have you and proud to have you. First, congratulations and thank you for serving as the Chancellor and the President. This is the first leadership structure change since the early 1960s when the system was formed. We are grateful for you as you lead us through this time as well, through this change, as well as through these unique and unprecedented times. Dr. Choi has his undergraduate degree from Illinois and master's and PhD from Princeton in mechanical and aerospace engineering. He has a 25-year career in higher education, having previously served as provost at the University of Connecticut before he became president of the University of Missouri system. I should add on a personal note, I was touring the Connecticut State Capitol when we played UConn several years ago, and the Speaker of the House, who happened to be from St. Louis, saw me in Mizzou gear in the hall. She stopped to talk and told me how sorry they were to see Dr. Choi leave the state of Connecticut. This was a few months after he started, and she conveyed how lucky we were to have him on our team and leading our team. President Choi, we are pleased to welcome you to our 2020 Alumni Leadership Conference. This is our first virtual conference, and our attendance is up almost 50% from last year. As you know, we are lucky to have volunteers from all over Missouri and the United States. We have alumni joining us from every school and college. Some of our attendees received their Mizzou degrees as undergrads. Some received degrees from graduate programs, and some have multiple Mizzou degrees. They are double and triple Tigers. We have alumni volunteers who are also parents of current students, and some of our volunteers just love the university. And while not graduates, they believe the university is special and important to support. We represent a variety of industries, experiences, and backgrounds, and we bring a host of Mizzou volunteer experiences, including regional chapters, affinity groups, school and college boards, Mizzou mentors, and more. Thank you for providing us not only with a campus update, but a chance to interact with you. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Robin. And I look forward to working with you this year and also with Sabrina in future years. And let me begin by sharing how excited I am to lead the UM system and now Mizzou. And when I say lead, that's leading together with so many other talented individuals who call Mizzou home. And I remember when I received a phone call from the Board of Curators offering me the job in October of 2016. I was excited. I was excited about the opportunity to deliver the type of leadership that will bring Mizzou back, bring the reputation back. And during this period, since October 2016 until now, I've grown to love this institution and the wonderful support that we receive from so many alums. And I also believe that it's my role as the chancellor and the president to defend the university, to support the university, but also recognize that when there are improvements needed, that I'll be the first to say we need to make those improvements together. So let me begin by sharing a couple of slides, but I do want to leave a lot of time to answer your questions. And can you see the slide up there? I'm going to put it on slideshow. And I hope you can see this. This is a message that I'm sharing with each member of our community. We're facing unprecedented challenges due to the pandemic, the resulting financial stresses that have been caused, as well as racial tensions driven by the injustices that occur for members of our community, especially for members who are of color. And we want to do our part in educating students so that they can become productive citizens and make important impacts in the communities that they serve. And also to train our students so that they can be engaged in the type of civil discourse that will enable us to have dialogues on difficult topics that we face now and into the future. Let me share with you how we're doing in our response to the pandemic. We have put into place a plan that we call Show Me Renewal that has elements that were derived from the CDC, as well as Boone County Public Health, and from our own public health and medical experts. Obviously, without a vaccine, we believe that masking and social distancing is the best approach that we have to contain the virus. And while we've had the arrival of students that we expected, we are now in a time where we can say that we believe with the measures that we have in place that we can successfully manage through this pandemic. We're also learning each day. I have a meeting morning at 7:30 with all of our public health leaders who contributed to the testing, quarantining, as well as contact tracing task force. And as part of that, we made changes, significant changes, hiring our own staff to support Boone County Public Health, leasing an entire hotel for the balance of the year to have the isolation spaces, and also making it much easier for students to get tests. No student who needs a test will be turned away, regardless of whether they have insurance or not. And we also have now 50 dedicated student affairs members who we call the CARES team to reach out to each student and provide that customer service and a caring voice during this very challenging time for our students. Let me share with you the statistics. This is a graph that shows active student cases since August 18th until yesterday. And as you can see, we saw a peak near the Labor Day weekend, but since then, with the measures that we've put in place, it has been going down significantly over the last 12 days. And today's number indicates that we are at 184 active cases. Yesterday was 202. Also keep in mind that during this period, we've had no student who was hospitalized during their COVID isolation. It's a positive news. We don't want our students to be infected and contract COVID, but we know that there's a high likelihood that they will recover. Another key concern is the transmission in the classroom to our faculty and staff and in the community. And when we look at our numbers for faculty members that are active, we are at 3 active faculty. And it is not clear whether they contracted it in the classroom or not, but the likelihood of contracting in the classroom when we have social distancing and 100% masking requirements, it is not likely. We're going to be measuring this on a daily basis to ensure that we flatten the curve and continue the very important endeavor of educating our students using in-person teaching. Continuing with good news, this year we announced that our U.S. News and World Report has increased our ranking from number 139 to 124. While that is an impressive jump in 1 year, I'm not satisfied. Look at where we were in 2012. And since 2012, we have been slipping. Not because of the quality of the programs were slipping, but we were not always entering the accurate information, as you see below, when it comes to graduation rate, faculty compensation, and so forth. Wherever you see a green background, that means that our numbers increased from the previous years. And based on the numbers that we're going to be entering for next year's analysis, we believe this trend of increasing our rankings will continue. I want to go to top 100 and then shoot past number 90 because that reflects the quality of Mizzou. Just a little more information on other data that is important to this U.S. News and World Report, but we take data very seriously, and we use data to make data-informed decisions to help support our strategic objectives. Now let's continue with more good news. A new era begins on September 26th, and if you're one of the lucky 20,000 people that have a ticket to this game, you're going to see what the Drinkwitz era is going to mean. And in the middle, you could see that Mizzou played Alabama, and I believe this was at the Faurot Field. While we lost that game, I know that we're going to build on the momentum that comes from the exciting play calling and with coaching that Coach Drinkwitz brings. And if you look on the left, he's looking towards something. And maybe it's not this year, maybe it's next year, but he has said each time we get on the field, we expect to win. And it's that winning attitude that can result in something like this. 45 years ago, who would have thunk it? Mizzou beating Bear Bryant in Tuscaloosa. It can happen again. I want to give you an update on our most important strategic initiative for not only Mizzou, but the entire UM system, and that is Next Gen Precision Health. And if you could see that picture in the middle, it is a picture of our building that is going to go right east of the Ellis Fischel Center. And that's going to feature a 220,000 square foot research facility designed for bench research that will have clinical as well as bedside applications, whether it's in treating breast cancer, pancreatic cancer, traumatic brain injuries suffered by our soldiers, or treating rare musculoskeletal diseases that other universities do not have the expertise to study. And it's all about partnership. We're not doing this alone. We're working with companies like Siemens, Thermo Fisher, Roche, and General Electric, and more. We also have a statewide mission to increase the opportunities for health delivery in rural parts of the state. In rural parts of the state, they're suffering from lack of primary care physicians, technicians, as well as facilities. But our approach will have a major, dramatic impact. And I'll talk a little bit about that later in the presentation. Because of the promise of Next Gen, the Next Gen building is going to be completed in October of 2021. We have been able to hire 50 faculty members who are world-class faculty from other AAU institutions. And there is no investment that is more important to Mizzou for our AAU plans than Next Gen. And if you look at Carolyn Anderson, she comes to us from University of Pittsburgh, and she is a world expert on nuclear medicine and radiopharmaceuticals to be able to use isotopes to treat cancers. Russ Waitman, we stole him from KU. He's one of the national leaders in big data and using data to improve health outcomes. More of these hirings will come in the future. I want to tell you a little bit about what is happening with our diversity and inclusion efforts. You may recall that in 2015, students led protests to indicate to the administration that more needed to be done to create an inclusive environment. Unfortunately, the leadership was not effective in meeting with students and developing effective solutions. That resulted in the outcome that we now call 2015. It wasn't a protest. We live in the United States. The freedom to assemble, the freedom to speak one's mind in a civil manner is in the Constitution. What caused 2015 outcome was the lack of leadership. And that is something that we are addressing. But I want you to see in numbers that demonstrate that Mizzou, while we need to do more work, has been a leader in the Midwest. If you look at the 11 Midwest flagship universities, the percentage of Black and African-American student at the undergraduate level, Mizzou is at 7.7%. We're number one. And by the way, we have been number one for 10 years. And look at all of the positive developments when it comes to performance of our Black and African-American and Hispanic students when we compare to national averages for graduation rates. What's very important is to continue to make advancements in inclusion where everyone, regardless of their background, experiences, or perspectives, are valued and welcome because their voices contribute to our student success, research, and engagement. So we'll close out my presentation, and I look forward to answering any question that you have. As many people know, I don't shy away from questions, and I look forward to having a fruitful discussion with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Choi. I'm going to ask you the first one while our alums are sending their questions in through chat. I heard a faculty member say that there's more access to teaching and content than ever before with face-to-face classes, live Zoom options, and recorded sessions. The Alumni Association is the largest provider of scholarships to Mizzou students, and our members are very committed to supporting their success in many ways. I know they would like to hear more about how the student educational experience has changed this year and how our students are adapting to it.
Well, what this new environment has allowed us to do is to experiment with new technology, as you mentioned. And our faculty members have been very creative in being able to develop face-to-face courses that have that online component. And in many cases, our faculty members are working double time because while they're delivering their face-to-face classes, when there are students who test positive or have to quarantine, they have to be away from the classroom for 10 to 14 days. So our faculty members are using Zoom technology. They're recording their lectures. They're having interactive sessions with the online students while at the same time engaging with students who are face-to-face. So it's going to be a model that we are going to master. And I know that we are experimenting with many different platforms, but our faculty members are finding that it does bring in more opportunities for us to engage students using different types of modalities. And another thing that Zoom technology and e-learning has taught us during the past 6 months is that we're never going to have another snow day. As long as you have internet, we can teach. As long as we have internet, we can work from anywhere. And so that's a positive thing. And I think our faculty and staff and students will appreciate it.
Great. Question from Pete Ferretti in St. Louis. He guesses that it's been an interesting experience being part of the SEC leadership conversations this spring. Would you like to expand on that and talk about what that experience has been like?
You know, when I enter that meeting, I need to make sure that I give a code of silence in that meeting. But as you know, I believe the SEC leaders, including Greg Sankey, the commissioner, has done a wonderful job. They slowed everything down to get a better understanding of this disease, how to have the proper testing, and better understand from the medical perspective how we can have safe competition. We didn't rush it like the Big Ten. The Big Ten did not push their schedule back to 3 weeks later like we did. So they started contact much earlier than we did. But now that we are in the position that we are with twice a week testing by a third party and active, very active, not passive isolation and quarantining, we feel confident that we're going to be able to play this safely. I mean, I can't imagine how other teams are able to function when they don't have those protocols, because they are athletes, but they're students first, and we have to take care of them.
Great. From Wally Pfeffer here in Columbia. Please share with us how Dr. Marshall Stewart's advocacy efforts will include our alumni volunteers.
Marshall Stewart is just a phenomenal leader. And, one of the key reasons that Mizzou's reputation among rural Missourians and the legislature coming back to support the university is because of Marshall's efforts and that of the extension operation. And he shares such a positive message about the university coming to the communities, as opposed to communities coming to Mizzou to get support, whether it's in advancing rural medicine, such as a Siemens partnership, where we are able to operate an MRI from Columbia, an MRI that's located in Sykeston or Bolivar, where they don't have access to the technicians on a 24/7 basis, or to provide broadband access so K through 12 students have the learning tools that they need to complement face-to-face. Marshall has done a tremendous job.
From Craig Moeller in Virginia Beach, Virginia. He was our host, President Choi, last night for our virtual awards ceremony. Did a great job. His question is, as a member of the media, how do you feel like you have to manage social media? What's the challenges? What's the opportunities?
Yes, for me,
yes, for you.
Stay away from social media would be my advice to Moon Choi of a month ago. And I don't use Twitter, but I began to read comments at Black at Mizzou. And up until about 3 weeks ago, I read every single comment. And based on those comments, we made significant changes in our diversity and inclusion efforts, including developing the first ever bias hotline, developing the first ever cultural competency that's mandatory for everyone at the university, and developing programs to have supervisors be held accountable for not addressing acts of discrimination. Those are the initial steps. And there's a lot of media out there that is portraying me as someone who doesn't listen. Anyone that knows me, that sends me an email, choymoon@umsystem.edu, gets a personal response from me and sometimes a phone call after that. No one needs to use Twitter to get my attention. But I also have to say, when Twitter feeds that come to me start off with expletives, to me, I say that's not professional. That's not the way we should have conversation. But access to me and my staff to address concerns, they're available 24/7. choymoon@umsystem.edu. Try it out.
And we'll see if we can run that across the bottom. We'll ask Morgan.
Yeah.
For Morgan Corder here in Columbia. Dr. Choi, what are some of the ways you are strengthening the university's relationship with our state legislators in Jefferson City to continue to show the university's value to Missouri?
Well, it first starts by listening, understanding what their expectations are for their flagship university. And there's a lot of pride about this university that has stood in Columbia since 1839. But in 2017, when I arrived here, there was a lot of hurt as well, asking, what are the values of the university? What are the goals of inclusion? And are we going to include diversity efforts that also not only talks about background and experiences, but perspectives? Are we going to be a university where there's intellectual pluralism? And are we going to treat people with fairness, with due process in everything that we do? And most importantly, are we going to achieve excellence? And are we going to show that by strategically allocating resources to make investments? And I believe with the direction from the board, Next Gen is exactly that. Despite the pandemic, despite all of the things that we're facing, Next Gen is continuing unabated, because that is our investment in the future of our AAU plans, as well as the future of precision health in the state of Missouri.
I'm going to ask you a question that I think is going to probably pick up on what you just answered, but I think you maybe have some other points you want to make. It's from Laura. She says, and imagine it's September 2021. You look back at this past year, what would you be most proud of when it comes to Mizzou?
The dedication and commitment of our faculty and staff, the anxiety and the fear that existed at UNC Chapel Hill or Temple University in Philadelphia or countless other universities that decided to close earlier in the semester. Those fears are here too. But we have faculty members who say, I know that there are risks, but there are risks in everything that we do. And if students are coming here because they want that in-person experience, I'm going to do my best to provide it for that person. And I heard an inspiring story from our provost, and she said that one of our faculty members who has an underlying condition, health condition, and those with underlying health conditions are provided an opportunity to teach their class through distance learning. And he told her, well, you know, provost, when I go to the grocery store, I expect the grocery store to be shelved. And I appreciate the people that work at the grocery store to shelve and make sure that the food that I need and the community need is there. In the same way, if students come to the classroom, they expect to be taught. I do that. And I mean, to me, that was inspiring to hear. We have so many people like that. So I'm very proud of that.
Fantastic. From Ben Daniels in California. The 6-year graduation rate seems to have stalled at around 69%. This leaves me worried that many students are leaving without a degree and student debt. What strategies are we using to help these students stay on campus and graduate?
So great point. And it starts with understanding why students are leaving. Are they leaving because of financial issues? Are they leaving because of academic reasons? Or in the 29% that didn't graduate, who started in 2013, some of those students transferred to another university. So it's not as if they just dropped out and didn't get a degree.
Right.
But the important thing for us is to understand that data. And as we looked at year-to-year retention rate and graduation rates, we also found that many students who had small balances, maybe they didn't pay a parking bill or parking bills or library fines, but because they had that bill, let's say $200 to $300, they couldn't register and then get the scholarships from the federal government or from the bank. Now, to me, that just doesn't make any sense. Let's find a way to take that balance and either eliminate it or include it as in future payments and allow that student to register and graduate. It's student success that we're looking for. It's not university success. So it's programs like that and also better advising.
Great.
Having our students take 15 or more credit hours per semester is key.
Okay, we'll probably do two more questions. Deb Deers from Portland, Oregon, and Deb's one of our award winners from last year, so glad to see her tuning in from a difficult area of the country. Are there any initiatives from university officials to travel to chapters outside of the Midwest when we can all travel again? We would love to have your staff or other high levels administrators visit us and strengthen the bond with distant alumni.
Yes, and we can make exceptions, but I'm willing to travel, and I'm not that busy during this time. So yeah, I can get out to wherever you want me to go, except for Southern California right now because of what's happening. But seriously, if there are events, I really enjoy meeting alums with socially distanced and so forth. But I miss that. I miss that aspect of my job.
I imagine. Last question. Besides philanthropy, what is an area where you would like to see more alumni involvement?
Engaging with our students, not only after they graduate, but while they are still in school. Many of our students are seeking advice, professional advice, or sometimes just someone to talk to that, things that they can't confide in their parents or even their roommates. And so having a network of alums that can engage our students and support their journey would be very, very helpful. And talk up Mizzou wherever you go. Wherever you go. #1 university in the Midwest for veterans. #1 university when it comes to diversity of undergraduate Black and African American students. And it's a university that recognizes that change and improvements are needed, but we own those issues. We don't do it because we're forced to do it. We do it because we want to create a stronger university that you can all be proud of. And I'm proud of Mizzou. I'm very proud of Mizzou.
I know we're recording this, and you literally just gave us the clip to sell the Mizzou mentoring program. So thank you very much.
Right.
That's something we're always encouraging alums to be involved with, and we send out emails about that right now and again. Thank you, President Choi. We are grateful for your leadership and service to our flagship university. Is there anything final you want to say? If not, we're going to say thank you for spending part of your morning with us, and to the alums, thank you for all your great questions. Just
one. I saw Don Popilski's question about Pickard Hall. It's a historic hall, and it would have cost us about $12 million to demolish it because of the radioactive components. But we're thinking outside of the box. We're going to contact NRC and say, let us delay this for another decade because nothing is seeping out. That gives us a breathing space, especially during this challenging financial time. So we're thinking outside of the box.
Excellent. Well, thank you for your time this morning. I know the alums are glad to hear from you, and we're always proud to have you as our leader. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care. Take care.
Okay, everyone, let's all take 60 seconds to move and reset before our next guest. To help us with that, here's fellow member of the Mizzou Alumni Association Board of Directors, Leanne Taylor-Knight.
Mizzou leaders, it's time for your Tiger Energizer! Hey Mizzou leaders, how great are you? Thanks for all you do for Mizzou. It's about time to energize, so Max and I are here to do just that with you today. Don't miss out on this time to move.
Let's go, Tigers!
Go Tigers!
Fight Tiger! How's that wardrobe of yours looking today, Mizzou leaders? I'm sure you're sporting the black and gold, just like Max is. If you're sporting your favorite Mizzou colors, make sure you get up and give a big wave to the camera. Let's go, Mizzou Tigers! Woo woo!
Thank you, Leanne, and our volunteers. That definitely increased my energy level. Now let's take it up even another notch. As our football Tigers prepare for the home opener next week, yes, we're all excited, Coach Eli Drinkwitz was very generous to visit with a brand new member of the MAA Board of Directors and a Tiger that you most certainly know, Mizzou football great Martin Rucker. Coach Drinkwitz previews the season for us and answers some questions submitted by those of you who are members of the Mizzou Alumni Volunteer Facebook group. And yes, that was a shameless plug for those that haven't joined yet. Coach Drink and T-Ruck, let's take a look.
All right, perfect. Here we are at the Leadership Conference with Coach Eli Drinkwitz. Drink, what's up, man? How's things in Como?
Man, it's doing great, man. I was hoping you were coming. We could go sneak down to Booch's. I know if you're in town, they'll give it to me for free. You're famous around here, man.
Oh, not at all, not at all. They'd be like, "Oh, you and Coach Drink, we got you."
Yeah, no, they ain't giving me nothing free yet. I ain't won a game yet. So, we got
I like the attitude. Like the attitude. We'll come back to that Booch's comment a little bit later, but
okay.
In the essence of time. We'll kind of jump right into it here. But my first thing is I was incredibly proud to see the march of the players down to the courthouse to register to vote. And I mean, it's not taking a political stance one way or the other, but it's just putting the emphasis on that civic duty and how important it is to vote. And having played football, knowing where a lot of guys come from, sometimes voting isn't something that's really placed as a high priority, but it's very important in all of our lives. And so to see that you recognize that and shared that with your players was really encouraging to me. What prompted that? And then as a follow-up, do you guys have plans to make that a yearly tradition, or was this kind of a one-time thing?
Yeah, what prompted it was obviously all the social justice movement with what was going on with George Floyd at the time.
Sure.
But it was more, there's passion and we're feeling a certain way and there's so much emotion. We wanted to put something tangible to what we're trying to accomplish. And as a coaching staff, it's one thing to make statements. It's another thing to put action behind your statements. And so for our football program, we wanted to start something. And, for our guys, the first way to start, we talk about chasing two dreams, a life with football and a life after football. And I think too many times in college football, all these guys are worried about is making it to the NFL, making it to the NFL. Life is so much more than the NFL. And even if you don't make it to the NFL, you still have an incredibly bright future because you are a graduate of the University of Missouri, which is an unbelievable thing. And so how do we put an emphasis on making sure these guys are prepared for the rest of their life? And one of those, like you said, is the civic duty to vote and making sure they're registered to vote and understanding that in our society, the way the founding fathers implemented the way to create change is through voting. That's the way you make your voices heard. Everybody wants everything right now in this society. You get Twitter information feed. That's just not the way our system is set up. And that's the way, that's really to protect us from chasing fad to fad to fad. It's a way to allow us to I think be this, I don't know what the right word is, but be methodical in making changes. And so using your voice to vote, but for us, it wasn't just about voting. We've also launched a Mizzou Impact, which is something that we're really, as a team, working on towards creating a way to impact foster care. We've done Mizzou for Change, which is a backpack initiative for students and giving back into the community through community service. And for us, it's just about, man, let's not just talk about it. Let's be about it in our daily lives. And when you ask, is this something that's going to be a yearly thing? It absolutely is going to be a yearly thing. For every incoming freshman, as far as their initial paperwork, one of the first things they'll do is also register to vote. The NCAA just came out that the election day, I think it's November 4th this year, is going to be off. And so we're going to, and then the arena just was announced as one of the largest polling places in the state of Missouri. So it's going to be something continuous, and we're trying to not only educate, but instill those habits of change and progress.
That's fantastic. It sounds like you got your elevator speech prepared. So when you run for governor, you got my vote.
I'm a long way from governor. I don't want those. I got enough problems, man. We're trying to get ready to Alabama.
I heard that.
Yeah.
Pivoting a little bit to football into Alabama, I saw the other day, yesterday actually, that you've got 12 players out with COVID related issues. And I was just thinking, like, man, it's hard enough to game plan for a team like that when you've got all your chess pieces on the board. How much tougher has it made, and what adjustments have you made, without getting strategic to game planning for, missing 12 guys?
Well, it's kind of 2020, where every day is a little bit new, and that's just the reality. I felt like I could go one of two ways. You could try to hide it like some other coaches, or you can just be up front. And I'm just going to be up front with where we're at. I mean, and the reality of it is we're testing 3 days a week. So every 3 days when we test, there's going to be, if there's a positive, there's going to be more and more people that are out. I think as a team and as a coaching staff, we've had to just be comfortable being uncomfortable, right? Yeah. And these are uncomfortable situations, and everybody on the team has to be ready to contribute. And that's what I've talked to the team about is, everybody's going to have a moment, an opportunity, and it's, are you ready for that moment? Are you prepared for your opportunity? And if you're not where you want to be, just give it 3 or 4 days, because things could change all the time here. And so, strategically, I don't know that there's a way to plan for all of it. I think the biggest thing is you just have to be prepared to react to it and make sure your guys are prepared.
Yeah, that's awesome. Moving right along, this is being recorded for the Leadership Weekend, and so we've got volunteers from all over the country who give their time to the university, money and talent to the university as well. And so get to a couple of their questions. And the first one is from Matt Kruger from the Northeast Florida chapter, and he wants to know, what are the main steps you've undertaken to change the culture surrounding Mizzou football? And I think we've talked about kind of the social justice issue as one of them, but what are some of the other things that you guys have, when you came in, that you had to change immediately to see, if we're going to win, this needs to go, or this needs to come in?
Yeah, for me, it wasn't really about evaluating what the past was. It's just establishing what the basis for who we are moving forward.
Sure.
And I wasn't trying to denigrate who was here previously or what they had done. I just know what works for us. And for us, we have 4 core values that we live by every single day. Number 1 is always compete to do it better than it's been done before. We feel like that's a process that if every single day you're trying to become your personal best, if you're working to be better today than you were yesterday, be better tomorrow than you are today, that's the constant quest for self-improvement. And if we want to reach the standards that we want to be, we have to compete in everything we want to do on the football field, in the classroom, player to player, coach to coach. The second thing is we have to build trust and respect. We have to build trust between coaches and players, between players and players, between coaches and coaches, and between our program and the university and the fans. And we're trying to do that. Our coaches are trying to build the trust of the fans through recruiting, through showing how much work we have. We try to build the trust and respect of our players by showing them how much we care about them off the field, as well as showing them what we know on the field. The third thing is do more than what's expected. I think, if you wake up every day and the job is from 8 to 5 and you show up at 7:55 and you clock out at 4:59, that's the definition of average. We want to make sure that we're always doing more than what's expected. We're always playing with that extra effort, that extra level of enthusiasm. And then the last thing is enjoy the journey. College football is a journey. Every year is going to be a little bit different. There's always going to be people come and go. But the reality of it is, while we're together, we want to have fun and we want to enjoy each other's company and make sure that it's not such a rigid place that there's no room for fun. And we understand that the fun is in the winning, and we plan on winning. But we also know it's going to take some time, and we're working towards that. But for me, the culture is based on those 4 things, and it's living those things every single day. It's making sure that in practice, we're putting these guys in drills to compete. We're making sure that we're building trust and respect in how we respond to different phases of adversity, and making sure we're doing more than what's expected and enjoying the journey.
Man, that's awesome. When you started off, you about maybe wanted to check see if I had some eligibility left. Come down there and strap them on.
Well, we're down about 12 guys. We'd probably take it, man.
That's encouraging.
Yeah.
Well, we're running up on our time limit here, but I got one more question for you. I myself am pleased to serve on the MU Alumni Association Board of Directors, and it's our job, to be a front porch of the university and to support all things Mizzou. And so can you tell us 1 or 2 maybe action items or things that we could do to help support you and the football team?
Honestly, I think the very first thing is just stay with us. I don't know how this 10-game SEC schedule is going to go. I don't know how, right now, just to be honest, we're down to 74 scholarship players. With everybody else is going to have 85. We're at 74. And so we're going to have some battles. I look forward to seeing our guys compete. But we have a really solid recruiting class, and we need the energy of Mizzou to still be there regardless of what's going on. This is not going to be a short-term play or a short-term turnaround. The goal for me when I came here was not to be 8-5, all right, or 7-5. The goal is to win the SEC East,
yes, sir.
And consistently do that. In order to do that, you have to lay a foundation. And if you don't lay the foundation the right way, if you cut corners to try to get a cheap win here or there, it's going to be fleeting in the long term. And so I just need, this group, we need as a staff and as a team, we need this group just to have our backs, support us. And then once we start getting it rolling, I think everybody will be on the Mizzou train. But that really for me is the first things first. And then once we get going, there'll always be things that we can work to improve and figure out where we can, supplement some help here and supplement some help there. But right now, it's just making sure that we all stay together and support our university that we love. I still firmly believe that this is such an incredible place. it's such an incredible place, and it's got such a bright future because we are the one Mizzou in all of the United States. We're the one SEC school within our borders, one Division I playing school within our borders. We have a medical school. We've got a great agri school, a great engineering school. We've got all these great resources. We just got to come together behind a single mission. And if we do that, I really think the sky's the limit.
That's awesome. I really appreciate it, Coach Drink. Before I let you go, though, I promise we come back to that Booches comment there.
Yeah.
So Rich Gould from the Rocky Mountain Tigers asks, which one is it, Shakespeare's or Booches?
I mean, why do people always try to get me in trouble? I mean,
we're asking the tough questions here today.
They're trying to get me in trouble. Whichever one I say, the other one's gonna be ticked off. You know. But to be honest, if you said where are we going for lunch today, I'm picking Booches. You know, that's my call right now.
Yeah.
I'll let Shakespeare bring me a couple free pizzas to try to change my mind. But right now, if you said, hey man, it's time to go grab some lunch, I'm heading my butt to Booches. I'm not gonna drink. Drink. Okay, just I want everybody to know that. Okay, I know we got the guys down, but I'm not going to drink. But I would go. I may drown my sorrows in some chili cheese hot dogs.
That's awesome. There you have it. We appreciate you again, Coach Drink. Great to talk to you. Great to see you, and good luck. God bless this season. Can't wait to see you guys out there on the field.
Thanks, brother. Hey, as always, MIZ.
ZOU.
Oh my goodness, how fun was that? By the way, I think it's National Cheeseburger Day, so maybe that's the tiebreaker between pizza and Booches. But I know you're just like me and just like Martin. I'm even more excited for this football season after that conversation. 8 days, I think, if I'm counting correctly. So thanks so much to Coach Drinkwitz for injecting his energy and his personality and his passion into our Mizzou football. And thank you, Martin, for all the ways that you continue to make Mizzou proud. I am happy to serve with you. Now I'm going to turn it over to MAA Executive Director Todd McCubbin. He's going to give us an Alumni Association update.
Thank you, Sabrina. It's awesome to be here. Great job today so far. It's been fun to watch. I'm going to be honest with you. I think Coach Drinkwitz probably, the answer there is easy. It's you do Booches for dinner and you do Shakespeare's for dessert, right? I mean, you just go one way or the other and you make it happen. So we'll coach him up. We'll coach him up a little bit. I really welcome everyone. It's great to have you from the worldwide headquarters of the Mizzou Alumni Association here in the Reynolds Alumni Center. I'm in my office. A lot of times when you're here for Leaders Day, I don't have all of you here in my office, and so you're here looking at what I get to see every day. I'm looking at the Jesse Dome right outside my window here, and it's just great to have so many of you join us today, and I really appreciate it. Everybody kind of putting this together. What's cool about today is that while I'm not seeing you face to face, we're able to put together so many elements of the Mizzou alumni family. That's how you're able to have a Craig Moeller last night from the Tidewater Tigers out in Virginia host an amazing event last night with our leadership awards. Randy Wright, the voice, if you will, that you heard when you came on today all the way from Gainesville, Florida, who recorded that piece for that great opening video. I heard from all friends all across the country this morning in the comments. I got a text message from Nathan Marcus down in Birmingham, Alabama. And so I know a lot of people are tuning in today, and we really appreciate everything you do for Mizzou, and certainly you taking time out to talk about leadership and Mizzou and get updated. I want to share with you today one thing. First of all, I just tweeted out, if you guys are Twitter folks, I just tweeted out a picture of my setup here in my office. It looks a lot better back there than it does in front of me, but the hashtag for today is hashtag MizzouALC. I'm totally throwing that out. My team may get mad at me for saying that, but tweet that out today. Let people know what you're doing and how you're involved with the Alumni Leadership Conference today, because we're certainly excited to bring it to you. I want to go to the first slide here, and I want to kind of pull back the curtain a little bit about the Alumni Association, as I get to do every year, and share with you what's going on with the state of the association. And this is going to be a little bit of a retread for some of you that have seen me present over the year, but I just think it's important we have a wider audience today to understand our role, where we fit in the Mizzou family. And so when I talk about building the base, I'm going to show you a graphic here in a minute to be able to see that, but really building the base of support for our university, okay? I work with great students and faculty and staff here every day, but we know that base of support that surrounds us here in Columbia, whether it's the state of Missouri or the United States or internationally, is really, really strong. And we really feel like here from this office, with your help and your efforts, we do build the base of support for the University of Missouri. And so one of the things when I get to come to Leaders Day every year, I get to take the stage and I get to look out at everybody that's joined us today. That's not possible today, so I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to share with you a video right here that I think kind of brings that home. It sort of represents the view that I would get if I was on stage right now for you to look at and see how this all comes together. And so what you're going to see here is a video of our logo made up of a lot of amazing people. And these amazing people help us do so many things at the University of Missouri, right? They're involved with local alumni chapters, wherever that may be. They're running school and college organizations. They're sitting on scholarship committees, and they're picking the best and brightest to come to the University of Missouri. They're attending, when we can, tailgate parties to support our Tigers around the country, wherever that may be. They're gathering together when we can again at Faurot Field, and hopefully some of them will be here in the next couple of weeks as we get ready to watch our Tigers take the field or whatever athletic team that we support. They have volunteered to write notes to admitted students. And for the last 3 years, we've covered every admitted student on our campus, right? That's phenomenal. They've volunteered to write notes to all of our graduates from 2020 when their graduation was postponed. They're making a difference. They are the embodiment of making Mizzou stronger. And I just wanted you to see some of those faces. Hopefully you maybe saw yourself or some friends you may know, but they are so important to us, and we're so glad that you could join us today. So as we think about really that base of support, I want to show you a pyramid here, if you will, and I want to just kind of walk you through how we think about where we fit in this whole realm. We talk a lot about campaigns and how campaigns work on our campus. We're going to celebrate next week our campaign, Our Time to Lead campaign. We successfully raised more than $1.3 billion. And we talk a lot about the money, and the money's really, really important. It supports Mizzou in a lot of ways, but the time and the talent are a big part of that too. And so Morgan kind of clicks through a couple of these little lines that come off this pyramid. We have people that give us a lot of time and effort and certainly dollars. We have people that maybe be, they're in a committee level type of thing, but they still are working with us. We have folks that are just getting involved with us and maybe sending notes to admitted students in their area that are in and a part of this whole pyramid of support, this base of support that we have for the University of Missouri. So where do we fit and how do we kind of make this work, right? Because it takes a really strong base to support a land-grant research flagship university. And that's what engagement's all about. And we're going to talk about alumni engagement a little heavier right now. I want to give you a preview and, again, pull back the curtain of what we think about every day. So go ahead, Morgan, and hit the next button, and we'll show you all the different ways. These are just some of the ways that we have programs or options for people to be involved, to be engaged with the University of Missouri. A lot of you are involved in these various different ways, and these are only a handful, honestly, of the ways that we have that people can do things to help the University of Missouri and be engaged. And we appreciate that so much, but all these things build a really strong base of support. And so as we go to the next slide, I'll just tell you that the one question that we always ask, and I hope you're asking this in whatever organization or whatever group or whatever you're doing for the University of Missouri, the question is, does it expand the base? Whatever we create, whatever we do, especially in this time right now where we are, in a very different world, does it expand the base? We have an alumni leadership conference today that expands the base. We have more than 250 people joining us today on this broadcast, and that's far more than we've had at Leaders Day face-to-face. We are expanding the base today by putting this together and launching it. And so every time you have an event in your area or you think of someone new or think of something new, how does it expand the base? How do you reach out to fellow alumni who can help the university in some way? And so I think that's something that we always want to think about. So another question that's been posed really nationally and something we're dealing with is, what is alumni engagement? We all understand how campaigns work and how that goes with raising enough money, and you have thermometers to get there wherever it may be, whether it's at Mizzou or United Way or whatever you're working with. When you think about alumni engagement, I gave you a lot of great examples there. What does that even mean? How does that work overall? And so there's a national study going on right now. As we go to the next slide, it's through the Council for Advancement and Supportive Education. It really is seeking to bring all of our peers from around the country, from all the higher education institutions, to come together to think through what is alumni engagement. It was launched last year. It shows you some ways that we now are defining alumni engagement activities. And I want to share with you how this may affect your work as you think about volunteering with us, and how you have helped us really, I think, get off to a strong start with the Alumni Engagement Survey. So essentially, CASE has broke down alumni engagement into 4 distinct areas. And Morgan, as you go to the next slide, we'll show you what those look like. So one is philanthropic, and that is exactly what you think it is: how folks can make a gift of dollars to support the university, join the Alumni Association, whatever that does to help the university from a philanthropic point of view. Volunteerism, and I'm speaking to the choir today in terms of volunteerism and all the different ways that you can be involved with your institution. Experiential, how do people experience your alumni engagement program? And so this comes into events and activities, things like today. How do we make sure that we understand who's coming to those events and how they're enjoying and how those events are helping us move the needle in terms of getting more folks engaged with the university? And then finally, communications. We have an outstanding team here at our Alumni Association and with our university that tries to communicate with you in a very engaging way. And so how do we keep thinking about, with social media, our Mizzou Magazine, all the different ways we communicate, how we can do a better job there? And so with that, I want to share with you how we did in the first ever alumni engagement survey nationally with CASE. And so what we were able to pull in, we put in all our data last year. We were able to pull some of it out, and they assigned us a peer group initially. We haven't been able to pull all peers across the country, but this was a peer group they assigned us based on sort of location or size or our Carnegie classification, whether a high research institution, all those sorts of things. Your size of your alumni base, your staff, all those things kind of went into that grid that you see in front of you there. And so Wisconsin, Cal Davis, the University of Georgia, the Bulldogs, who I guess we're going to get to beat in November, are part of that group. Virginia Tech and North Carolina State were ones that we looked at. And so here's how we did. Overall, we did pretty well from an engagement perspective. If you look at the percent engaged on this next slide, you'll see that the University of Missouri, Mizzou, scored 23.3% of our alumni. Those are addressable alumni, people that we can find, are engaged with our institution with this new sort of formula. Now, let me explain to you what that means. Normally, we talk about engagement, and we talk about maybe the U.S. News and World Report, which I know the president mentioned we moved up 14, 15 slots this year, which is fantastic. But they look at engagement from a percent of undergraduate alumni who make a gift, who donate. So purely philanthropic. Okay, so one of those buckets, purely philanthropic. And that number was around 11.5%. Okay, which is pretty good for a big university. If you add engagement in the communications area, in the volunteer area, and also in the experiential area, that brings us up to 23.3%. So you can see the work that our organization does, along with a lot of our partners on campus, almost doubles our engagement with all the things we're doing. And we're certainly a part of philanthropic as well. But if you add all those things together, that's what gets us there. If you look at an average for our peers, it's a little less. If you look at the United States and all of the higher education institutions that were part of this survey, it's a little less than that. And if you look at everyone, and this includes international universities as well, it's even less than that. So this was a great first look at how engaged our alumni base is. I hear all the time from folks, and I have to admit, I've been here 25 years, so I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, I'm all in Mizzou, and sometimes the blinders in terms of other universities I have on. But when I hear from peers that come in and tell me about, man, you really have an engaged alumni base and you all are about traditions and everything you do, you know, I kind of take it for granted. But I think this shows that we're doing a great job and you're helping us do a great job to make that work. So our Alumni Association staff has sat down and thought about, how do we redo our metrics? How do we judge and really measure how we're doing things going forward? We're coming out of a campaign, and so how do we think differently about what we're doing? So I want to share with you, again, I want to pull back the curtain on how we're moving forward with some of our engaging metric and buckets that we're going to have, that we have some key performance indicators for each. So we really have tried to mimic the CASE information with experiential, volunteerism, giving, which is philanthropic, and communication. We will develop key performance indicators with each of those. We added membership because we are a membership organization. It's a lifeblood of our organization. We want to make sure we have that as well. How does this affect you? I'm going to tell you right now. Membership, in a way, is a membership and experiential, essentially how you are able to experience things at your different events. So we're going to be asking you probably more than ever when we're able to have events again, who attended those events? Can we get that list back to the campus so we can code those folks appropriately? I think it's going to help you with your chapter events and organizations as much as it's going to help us. It's also going to help us raise those numbers, okay? From a volunteerism perspective, we want to continue to create more ways for people to volunteer, whether it's through traditional routes or different routes to be able to help the university. And so giving, obviously, that's a pretty easy one. People know what that looks like. And then from a communication perspective, how do we continue to grow our social media platforms, both locally and then also with your organizations? How do they work with your Facebook pages and your Twitter accounts and such? I think that's really, really cool to be able to share with you how we're thinking about these key performance indicators and how we're going to grow from a engagement metric perspective. So again, that's a national trend. We're excited to be part of it here at Mizzou. We're also excited to see how we did in the first year. So let me give you a couple other little updates here before we move on with the program. And as you know, this year, a word that you've heard a lot in 2020 has been pivot or unprecedented. The word at the Alumni Association, as I told many of you last night, has been reimagine. We really kind of try to move on from those other two words and think about how do we reimagine everything that we're doing from alumni engagement perspective. And so I want to give you some examples of some things we've done. You probably saw a lot of these things, but what our staff and our team and our board has been involved with over the last several months. So Morgan, you could go ahead and throw these up. I won't spend a ton of time in each of these areas, but I will share with you some of the things that our team was involved with. We launched the Tigers Support Tigers campaign to support various emergency funds on our campus, whether it be student emergency, health emergency, scholarship type emergency funds. We raised more than $300,000 in gifts to all of those different funds during that time from folks like you who helped us and did a fantastic job getting us some great emergency funds for the different areas here on campus. We rebooted our scholarship challenge that many of you are involved with from a chapter organization perspective. That is something that, I think the day we canceled or postponed at the time, our Mizzou Giving Day was maybe a week before we all left campus. And so we rebooted that later in the spring. We raised awesome amount of money for local scholarship dollars. We appreciate your patience and your efforts. We actually almost doubled the number of folks that we had made gifts to our scholarship challenge last year. So thank you for your work. You did a fantastic job of getting great participation numbers. We hosted a virtual commencement celebration for our postponed graduation in May. I've never lived through one of those before, but it went really, really well. And we were excited with being able to celebrate our class of 2020 in a variety of different ways. Every one of our new graduates received a written note from one of our alumni. And I know a lot of you volunteered to do that and wrote notes to your alumni or wrote notes to those students. I know how much they appreciated that. It was fun seeing some of our celebrity alumni and our leaders across campus provide messages for that day of celebration. We appreciate your support as well, amplifying a lot of those messages on social media. We provided a digital membership for our class of 2020. So a lot of our seniors who walked out of the door, or grad students or law students, all those folks who had the opportunity to sign up for a free year membership that digitally is delivered to them. And we're excited to see about 1,500 of those folks that are new members of our Alumni Association as we work to welcome them to the alumni family and also engage them through the coming year. And our team is building out a virtual engagement channel. One thing's become very clear, while we will get back to events and hopefully be able to send folks to see Deb Deers out in Portland and all the great folks in that chapter, along with all of our chapters around the country, we know that virtual engagement's not going away. And so opportunities to showcase our world-class faculty, our students, or just programs that can help our alumni are something that we're working on planning, and you're going to see that roll out over the coming months. So that's a little bit about how we've reimagined our alumni engagement program here at Mizzou. I want to talk to you about 3 strategic priorities that our board of directors, and I want to thank them today because they're such great leaders and they've been so supportive of our staff as we've went through the last 7 or 8 months. three strategic priorities we've made a lot of progress on during this time. One is sort of an overhaul or a potential overhaul of our scholarship program. That doesn't mean we're not going to do what we normally do in the chapter area. I don't necessarily know if that's broke, but we sat down and talked about how through the course of the Our Time to Lead campaign, our scholarship program had almost doubled to $600,000 of impact and more than 500 students each year that are getting scholarships. That is the largest scholarship program on our campus. As we look at potentially a next campaign, how do we prepare to have an even more impactful scholarship program as we hope to double it again? What's it look like at $1.2 million in impact every year? We've sort of built our scholarship program room by room without a floor plan. And so we had a great committee, a task force that was led by one of our past presidents, Kim Voss, that just presented recommendations last week and did a fantastic job. The next thing is the Reynolds Alumni Center, where I'm coming to you from today. We wish you were here again today, and we wish we were hosting you upstairs in the ballroom and the great room. But as we think about the Reynolds Alumni Center that was opened back in the early 90s, and we think about how we've partnered with the Department of Admissions, and each day, including right now, people are streaming by my window right here to go in because we've opened up our Reynolds Alumni Center every day to host prospective students and parents as they start their Mizzou tour. It's an awesome way to bring them into the Alumni Center and let them see our beautiful campus as they start their Mizzou journey right here. But how do we think and rethink what the Reynolds Alumni Center looks like? And so we've started a revitalization study with a design firm. We have a small committee that's working together, and they'll present recommendations to our board for a future look and feel of our public areas, our outside areas, to make sure our Reynolds Alumni Center is vibrant and really an engaging space for alumni, prospective students, and all of our friends. And then the final thing is something I want to talk to you a little bit more about today is Mizzou Homecoming. We all know it's Mizzou's hallmark tradition, right? And we're looking forward, even though it's going to look a little different this year, we know it's such a piece of our Mizzou experience in terms of how homecoming comes together. But much like the scholarship program, it's grown over the years. How do we think about the future? How do we continue to cherish that tradition and grow it the right way, to think about what it may look like for alumni who can't come back to campus? And we're going to get a big head start on that this year with what's happening with our homecoming, obviously being very, very virtual. And so we had an awesome task force. Chuck Kaiser, a member of our board, and a group sat down to think and rethink about a bold vision for Mizzou homecoming so that we can continue to maintain that hallmark tradition over the next 20 years or 25 years into the future. So stay tuned for more with that. And with homecoming, let me give you a little bit of a heads up while I got you here. You might have received an email today. Our theme this year is timeless and true. And an email went out today that talked about one of the things we will be able to do in a virtual format is honor our Mizzou Hall of Fame class. These are the best of the best Mizzou alumni. We've done this for the last 4 or 5 years. We bring alumni back to campus. This year, we won't be able to bring them back to campus, but we'll honor them virtually on October 16th at noon. You're going to get an invitation soon. I want you to sign on. Much like this, you can watch a great ceremony honoring 4 awesome alumni. And so I want to introduce you to those alumni today. This email just went out at 10 a.m. this morning. So if you haven't seen that, you're going to get an inside peek before a lot of people know who these folks are. So the first member of our Hall of Fame class is someone you all know well. It's Sheryl Crow. And we're excited to honor her this year. This actually probably works out really well from a virtual format because getting her back to campus sometimes can be tough. She's very excited to be a part of this class. And so Sheryl Crow is the first member of our class of 2020. The next member is Rich Kinder. Rich is a co-founder and executive chairman of Kinder Morgan, an oil and gas company in Houston. He's a benefactor to Mizzou, unbelievable Tiger. He started the Kinder Institute for Constitutional Democracy on our campus, and we look forward to having him join us virtually in a couple of weeks to celebrate his impact and all the wonderful things he's done in his career. The next member of that class is Bill Morgan. He's part of the other part of Kinder Morgan, and what a dynamic duo they've been in Houston for many, many years, both on the business and philanthropic front. And Bill's a proud Tiger as well, and we can't wait to honor both Rich and Bill as part of the Hall of Fame class of 2020. And finally, a really special posthumous induction is Dr. Gus Ridgel. Dr. Ridgel passed away, unfortunately, this summer. He was an educator, administrator, a pioneer in so many ways. He was MU's first Black graduate student. He's been back to campus many times to share his story. He was a real treasure, and it's someone that we're very fortunate to be able to honor posthumously. And so Dr. Ridgel and his family are very excited to honor him here as part of the class of 2020. So that's another outstanding class of the Hall of Fame. We look forward and have you to join us on that video stream here in a few weeks on October 16th at noon to watch that. I know we're headed to the next break. I want to thank this group and thank you for everything you do for us. I'm going to have an opportunity to answer your questions. If you have questions for me, you know how to reach me. You talk to me all the time via email, via whatever it is. But I just want to, on behalf of our staff, to thank you for everything that you do for the University of Missouri. And so I know I'm supposed to get you to the next speaker, and I'm happy to do that. And so it is my pleasure, as I think Morgan brings in our next guest, is Dr. Maurice Gibson. And it's my pleasure to introduce him. I see him joining us from across the way over here in Jesse Hall. He's the new Vice Chancellor for Inclusion, Diversity, and Equity here at Mizzou. Dr. Gibson believes, like you and I, that education is the great equalizer. But for some students, especially those who are first in their family to attend college, reaping the benefits of higher education and all it has to offer requires more than an opportunity just to be here. They need a system of support once they arrive. And Dr. Gibson wants to make sure that infrastructure is in place for every student at Mizzou, no matter their background. He came to Mizzou this summer from Arkansas State University, where he was Vice Chancellor for Diversity and Community Engagement. Before that, he served 2 years as a special assistant to the Vice President for Diversity and Community Engagement at the University of Texas at Austin. And dear to my heart, he was in institutional advancement and a diversity consultant at Langston University in Oklahoma. And so let me tell you, this guy is Mr. Collaboration. We look so much forward to working with him and jumping in with him in terms of how he's going to work with what happens here on campus, but also with our alumni base. Dr. Gibson, thanks for joining us this morning. Welcome to our Alumni Leadership Conference, and welcome to Mizzou.
Thanks so much, Todd. I appreciate that. And quite honestly, I was already excited to be here. And then you started reading that bio, and I was wondering who's getting ready to speak next? Because that certainly could not be me. You did such an incredible job. And thank you for always being a willing partner. And you said some very key things that education is certainly the great equalizer. You know, I'm a first-generation college student, grew up in poverty, and I never in my wildest dreams did I think I'd be working as a vice chancellor at a major flagship institution. But it's because the power of education and because there were some infrastructure and support systems in place to make sure that I wouldn't get lost in the crowd and that I wasn't just another number. And we certainly have that here at Mizzou, and we look forward to doing even better. So thank you again for your partnership and those very, very kind words. Well, good. I think it's still morning. Good morning. Good morning, all of our Mizzou alums out there. And thank you for taking time to be with us here today. As Todd said, I'm Maurice Gibson. I'm very, very excited to wear the Mizzou colors now and be a full-fledged Tiger. I've been here as of Tuesday, 2 full months, and it's been absolutely fantastic. We have some of the absolute best students, faculty, and staff in the world, not just this country, but in the world. And they are truly dedicated to issues of inclusion, diversity, and equity. So today, I want to just give a very brief overview over what the division is, what we do, some of our signature programs and units, and then kind of end with what I want to focus on for the next year or so that people out in the field, our alums, can share what the diversity vision is for Mizzou. And then absolutely help us in the critical areas of recruitment. Or we can go to the next slide. So the first overview is just kind of a look at our units. There are 5 distinguishable units in the division of inclusion, diversity, and equity. The first is access and leadership, and this deals with our pre-K, P through 20 pipeline. So getting students right when they're in pre-K introduced to Mizzou, and then taking them all the way through either professional school or graduate school. So to obtain that advanced degree, we have a wide array of programming available to those populations. And one thing I want to say that's critically important when we talk about inclusion, diversity, and equity, these themes do not relate just to race and ethnicity. And I like to start out my conversations talking about this whole idea of broadening our scope, right? Making sure that we have an infrastructure for the most vulnerable Missourians, and then everyone across the country. So our programming, it touches not only race and ethnicity, it touches gender issues, and it touches an issue that's very near and dear to me, and that's socioeconomic. Making sure that those who are the poorest among us still have an opportunity to not only come to Mizzou, but they also have an opportunity to thrive here at Mizzou. Our next unit, accessibility and ADA, exactly what it sounds like, making sure that our faculty and staff members have the appropriate accommodations here on campus to ensure a conducive work environment for them. Civil rights and Title IX, that's, again, sounds exactly what it is. That's our investigative arm and issues of equity. Our inclusive engagement, this is another really unique and innovative area that many campuses don't have. So I'm excited that we have this inclusive engagement arm in IDE, and it's twofold. One, making sure that our campus community, as well as our external constituents, know that Mizzou is a welcoming place, and that we provide programming and innovative ideas to solve some of the complex issues surrounding diversity and inclusion. The second piece of that is our professional development and training apparatus. So as you can imagine, we get tons of calls and emails and requests to provide training, and as the flagship, we know we have a responsibility not only to our surrounding community, but to the state to provide cutting edge and innovative solutions. So this is an inclusive engagement. We do quite a few trainings per year. We have a schedule of trainings. We're not quite on the training on demand aspect yet. However, if there's something unique that you can think about that back in your respective communities that you would love to just either know more about, talk about, discover, let us know. And we have a process where basically it takes about 6 to 9 months to develop new training. And if there's something that's very unique, whether it be in New York or Chicago, Wisconsin, and we can do a virtual training, that's also a possibility with enough time. The last are our social justice centers, and this is actually a social justice education unit, and this is mostly student driven. We have 5 different centers underneath our social justice department umbrella, and here we're while in the past it is focused mostly on student programming and making sure that our various disparate populations have places of which they can go and not only receive support, but also be able to connect with students with similar identities. And we're adding an education component. We're working on it for this semester. Hopefully we can roll it out in the spring, where we introduce a robust education component to social justice, particularly with all of the issues related to social justice happening in the country. We want to make sure our students are prepared, that they're knowledgeable, and that they can contribute to issues of social justice, to solving those issues in this country. Next slide. All right, and I have a whopping about 6 minutes, so I've got to get through this. But I'm always available, and my contact information will be at the end to have a more robust discussion at the conclusion. So inclusive excellence is a concept we adopted at Mizzou probably within the last 5 years. We have made sure that as a campus, we've embraced this idea of inclusive excellence. And one way I like to describe that is that until every person who comes on this campus, regardless of your background, regardless of your identity, feels like they are included in this whole Mizzou community, then we haven't necessarily done our job. So inclusive excellence is certainly aspirational for us. We continue to work every day to make sure that each office, each department, each college, each division is doing their absolute best to make sure that everyone can succeed here. Next slide, please. All right, this is just an idea of, again, just giving you the kind of background behind inclusive excellence and how we're shifting away from the more numerical side of just trying to target a certain number. We realize that if we just specifically target only numbers, that we're missing a whole nother aspect of what it means to be included in a sense of belonging here on campus. So we're moving towards away from just pure numerical assessments to a more holistic approach to inclusive excellence. Next slide. Here are just the pillars and the framework: access and success, institutional climate, intergroup relations, education and scholarship, institutional infrastructure, and community engagement. I'll give you just a quick 10-second kind of spiel on what each of those are. Access and success deals with how students and potential faculty and staff members engage with Mizzou, and are there any barriers to their entry. Institutional climate, intergroup relations, making sure that everyone on campus is working well with one another. Education and scholarship, making sure that we remain the leaders and knowledge of Mizzou. So we not only consume knowledge, but we produce it for others externally. Institutional infrastructure, I think that's Todd's wheelhouse, is making sure we have the adequate resources to implement our plan. And community engagement, which is critically important, making sure that all in Missouri know that they have a place here at the flagship and that we're providing opportunities for them. Next slide, please. Here are strategic priorities for the next year or so rather. Student success, making sure that we have an adequate pipeline to get underrepresented minority students here on campus. And again, I told you it's very broad when we talk about the idea of minority. It's not just race and ethnicity, but also this idea of making sure that those who are the poorest among us still, that's not a barrier to their success. Faculty recruitment and retention, again, making sure, Mizzou has one of the best brands out there in the business as it relates to scholarship and academic prowess, and we need to attract the best and brightest. So it'll be our job in IDE to partner with the Provost's office and academic affairs to make sure we're doing just that. And culture, creating this culture of accountability, as well as this culture of caring. When I got here and met with various stakeholders, they said, Mizzou has great academics, has a great brand, but sometimes it doesn't feel like Mizzou cares about me, the individual. And I take that personal. I take that to heart because I want everyone who connects to this campus in any shape, form, or fashion to feel like they belong here, feel like they have a connection. So we're really going to start this whole idea of a culture of caring, where people they care about one another. They care about your successes here on campus, and also when you leave campus. Next slide, please. Our strategic priorities continued. When I started, I think on July 16th, we had a town hall, and I told them that for this next year, 2 years rather, because I kind of do these plans in 2-year increments, IDE will act. We'll make sure we're accountable, we're committed, and we're transparent. Very, very simple acronym. We're always going to act. We're going to be accountable, committed, and transparent. We've already launched the university's already launched the bias hotline, and that was in response to some of the needs of the community. Right, we're trying to make sure that we continue to listen to our stakeholders and that we provide solutions to some of their concerns. We're still working right now on instituting cultural competency training, bystander training, civil discourse training for the campus. Again, as we talk about this culture of caring, these are all pieces that fit within our process. We're also making sure, and we've already done this. Gary Ward's team and Chief Bryan's team, they've worked on looking at our use of force policies for the police department and reviewing all the policies, actually. We're in the process of putting up affirming signs around campus. Again, when folks ask, well, what will a sign do? And I turn the question around and say, well, what does a stop sign mean to you, right? Even if no one is watching, when you see a stop sign, you stop, particularly because you don't want the ramifications of rolling through a stop sign. I mean, what we're saying here at Mizzou is that we're going to affirm that we don't tolerate racism. We don't tolerate harassment or discrimination. And as people see those visual reminders, we're hopeful that they will begin to embrace this idea of this is a place that cares about all of its stakeholders. And then modernizing our video equipment, another concern from constituencies where that, incidents would happen and we would not be able to accurately capture some of the incidents because we have antiquated videos. So again, part of this culture of caring, making sure that our constituencies are safe. And that is it. So I did my quickest Louisiana spill I could do it in 10 minutes. But again, this work is critically important. And I'm so happy that I'm able to speak with our alums today far and wide to help us in our process of getting better. Because we know that with the assistance of our alums, we certainly can achieve greatness. Thank you, Todd.
Dr. Gibson, thanks, man. You were tap dancing there towards the end. That was awesome. Good work. A lot of good information. We're so, like I said, excited you're here and want to partner with you. I do have a few questions for you. If you have a little time here, we're gonna go because we got some great questions to talk through. First up from Ellie Pressler, who lives in Cincinnati. She wanted to know in terms of there's a lot of work to do around addressing equality and inclusion. But what are some deliberate metrics that we can put in place to really measure sort of our progress in that area? And then as a profession, how do you all think about that from a, being able to compare with peers? I know that's something we try to do in alumni relations and alumni engagement, which can be tough, and we're working our way through that nationally. But how does that work with addressing those really two difficult areas, building in metrics to do so, and then be able to compare that with peers across the country?
That's an excellent question, and I'm glad you asked that. So we already have metrics that assess how are we getting closer to our goals, right? And quite honestly, as we relate to our peers, we're actually doing better in some areas. So we've had more increases in our underrepresented minority student populations over the last 5 years than our peers, particularly our Midwestern peers. And then we've even had larger increases as it relates to diverse faculty amongst our peers. So when we measure against our peers, we are doing well. However, what we're saying is that we want to do better than that, right? Even those numbers to us are still lower than where we would like to be. So compared to our peers, we're definitely doing better, but we're Mizzou. So we want to be the absolute best. So we want to say not only our peers, but what are some of those institutions that are ranked higher? We want to see what they're doing, so we can attain some. And some of them aren't even doing that well. But the metrics are quite simple in a sense. We look at what does our population look like as a whole in Missouri, right? And how does our campus population reflect that? If it does not, what are some of the barriers, right, to making sure our campus population is reflective of the community? And then once we start looking at the barriers, and I'll say just one, as an example, we were looking at, over the last couple of years, we've had a dip particularly in our African-American student population. And then when we drilled down, we saw that as a whole, there were fewer African-American students in Missouri who were attaining the requisite ACT score to get unconditional admission. So what does that mean to us? What that means to us is that we're going to now look at programming to not only prepare those students, but also see how we can bridge some of those academic opportunities, right? So we're hoping that with a 3-year trial period with one of those programs, those numbers start to go up. And then we do the same thing on the faculty and staff side. We look at, how, just globally across the country, what is the availability of, I'll just say history professors, because that's my profession, history professors, right? What is the market, one, and then two, like what is the makeup of the profession? And then we try to see where does Mizzou stack up there? Are we less? Are we more? And then we look at, what do we look like in our own departments, right? What's the makeup of just our faculty diversity and our, whether it be gender, racial, so on and so forth. And then we begin to assess how do we get better. So we have those assessment pieces in place. We have metrics on which to judge ourselves. It's just a matter of like what's the right what is the right way forward? What's the right path forward, right? How do we actually solve those problems? That's an excellent question.
I appreciate that. It's a great question. And we have several more, and I know we're not going to get to them all, so we're going to probably work with you to get some answers to some of these coming up. So I really appreciate the engagement and the questions that are being asked. We had several questions around the Thomas Jefferson statue and in terms of where that stands, kind of what's happening with that on campus. And I know there's a lot of work being done around that. I know you're involved with it, but where does the thing stand with the Thomas Jefferson discussion and statue and where things are at today?
Who's Thomas Jefferson? So I've never heard of what. No, that's an excellent question, and I know, and thank you, particularly to our alums. I know it's been a tough discussion to have. Just imagine for me coming in and being here a week and learning that there is so much discourse around Thomas Jefferson, the statue, but more specifically Thomas Jefferson, the man, who he was, what he means to this country, what he means to Missouri, what he means to Mizzou. I went to St. Louis with my wife last weekend. I had no idea. I thought Thomas Jefferson was a Mizzou thing, but no, Thomas Jefferson is a Missouri thing. So, but to answer your question, as you are aware, President Choi decided to have the statue remain where it is. However, he also went further and said, you know what? We know that Thomas Jefferson is a complex man, just as many of the not only founding fathers, but historical figures were complex. What he decided to do was to create a task force, of which we have a couple of curators, students, faculty, and staff involved with, to contextualize Thomas Jefferson. So that task force has met once already. I'm not sure what the outcome of their deliberations were, but I know they're scheduled to meet again in October to really begin to do the tough work of figuring out what does contextualization look like. As a historian, we contextualize people and events all the time. So I'm telling you, it is difficult. It's difficult. It's not difficult to do, but it's difficult to figure out how exactly do you put a complex individual that we know owned slaves on one hand, and then we know that he was one of the most vociferous champions of public education on the other hand, right? Public education by which many of us have benefited from as a result of, obviously public education in this country. So it's tough, it's difficult, but I promise you we're still working towards contextualizing that statue, doing something meaningful so all stakeholders will truly better appreciate what that statue means to that legacy, and also say, hey, your legacy, there were some problematic pieces to that legacy, and we want to also discuss that too. And what I'm hoping, again, as a historian, as a scholar, and just as a new Missourian, is that it serves as a topic of debate. That we have something in such a way that, students are out there really talking about this legacy in a very complex way, because what better place than an institution of higher education than to have those debates on the legacies of individuals. So that's where we are right now. The task force is scheduled to meet again next month, and we're hoping, and just keeping our fingers crossed, that we can, unveil something around the next semester.
I appreciate that. It's a big conversation. It's a difficult conversation. And in a lot of ways, it is exactly what institutions of higher education, this is our role in society. We have these big conversations, and I know we're thrilled to have you here at Mizzou as a Tiger to help us through that conversation, along with all the good work that's going on here. So again, thanks for your time this morning. We appreciate it. We look forward to partnering with you anymore. I can't wait to bring you so you can see and meet some of these folks face to face, because I know you're going to enjoy it as much as I do. So thank you. Appreciate it.
MIZ.
ZOU. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Hey, let's get one more Tiger Energizer in before our next presentation.
Mizzou leaders, it's time for your Tiger Energizer! Max and I have a little trivia for you. Did you know that after 30 minutes of sitting, your metabolism has dropped by 90%? Oh my goodness, Tigers, we've got to get up and move it, move it. Max and I say, move it, move it. Let's go, Tigers.
Fight, Tiger.
Fight, Tiger.
Fight, Tiger.
Just wanted to preview a great agenda that we have planned for you this afternoon. On September 24th, we've got a pregame that's being planned for the leadership conference, and it is going to be tied to specifically for our alumni leaders. And one of the things that we know that we are missing is really the one-on-one connection and the chance to meet one another. So this is going to be a great opportunity to celebrate the success of the campaign, the role that volunteers have played. So watch your inbox. You're going to get an invitation for this. It's next Thursday, September 24th. Also, coming up, you're going to get a special preview for some great homecoming activities that we have planned, tied around the theme, opportunities to celebrate homecoming at home. We've also got a webinar planned in October about handling hot topics. We'll want to offer as a session to help prepare you and those that you support and serve through tough conversations around Mizzou, and also want to look for additional ways to get involved with our November opportunity. This is a networking session focused on all the great ways that you as volunteer leaders serve Mizzou. There's more than 14,000 Tigers that provide service, and so this is a great way to look at other opportunities that you have to provide service. So we are continuing to have technical difficulties with Dr. Stackman. So we're going to also note that another thing that happens this afternoon is a opportunity to check out a platform that we want to show off. It offers the opportunity to kind of one-on-one connection. We're really testing the platform. It's still under development, and it really facilitates quick connection, speed networking style. So we're going to invite you to take a look and tell us what you think. You get to meet 5 fellow Tigers for quick 3-minute conversations, and we really hope it's a fun way to connect Tiger alumni leaders with one another. So if you're interested in doing that at 1:30 Central Time, please make sure you get on, if you haven't already, a few minutes early and fill out the quick profile and get started within the networking session, ready to start at 1:30. So that's a little preview of what we have planned for this afternoon. And I think we may be still waiting on Dr. Stackman to join us, but I think we could also look at the opportunity to go ahead and talk with, I know we have a couple students who are going to visit with us this afternoon. So 2 fantastic alumni leaders, Lynn Krull and Anthony Treader. So I want to welcome these outstanding student leaders and offer them a little bit of an opportunity to tell all of us a little bit about what the first few weeks of the academic semester have been like. So with that, I will turn it off to 2 very talented student leaders at Mizzou.
Well, hello. Thank you guys for having me. My name is Lynn Krell, as he said, and I'm a senior studying business marketing and strategic communication. I just want to say hi to all the alumni out there, wherever you may be. And I'm excited to provide some student perspective of campus.
Yeah. So good morning again. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. For those of you who have not met me or don't know me yet, my name is Anthony Treader. I'm the current undergraduate student body president here at Mizzou. I'm a senior political science and psychology major. So, just kind of getting onto some of the stuff on campus. I know, like Jason said, I know the first couple weeks have been different, I think, in one word than a usual college semester for sure. The one thing I'll say is, obviously it's really challenging right now for students, but the thing I've been encouraged by more than anything is the resilience that our students have shown and the work that our staff and faculty have done to create kind of an atmosphere and some traditions that have happened, for the last 100 years in one of the most unprecedented times in education. So Lynn, I don't know how you have felt about that, but I think that's been really encouraging for me from a student perspective.
Yes. So for the alumni, in case you haven't heard, we were able to continue a lot of our traditions that we so love, such as Tiger Walk for our incoming freshmen and Paint the M. Some very memorable memories that you made here on college, and it's amazing. The best advice I have for students right now is really to just give yourself grace with everything that's happening, and also find positivity in every day, whether it's getting up and getting that cup of coffee, or maybe being able to go out for lunch instead of necessarily making your own. So finding that little bit of positivity is what helps me.
That's awesome. I know that you guys are active student leaders. So why don't you offer alumni a little bit of a glimpse of perhaps your advice for being successful at Mizzou?
Yeah, definitely. I'll go first. I think if I had any advice for students in general, I think it's the importance of community. That's something that I think I've talked about all 4 years that I've been here. And I know especially right now, it can feel incredibly isolating just due to the kind of restrictions that not just higher education, but our country is really facing as a whole right now. But just staying in touch with loved ones and friends is always so important. And it's a really big break from the grind of just a normal school year. And then the second thing really is prioritizing and taking care of your mental health and well-being first. College is difficult in a normal year, and right now especially, again, it's super unprecedented, and the challenges being faced are legitimate and valid. I think whether it's just talking to a mental health professional or again, just to confide in a close friend or relative, I think I would advise anyone that prioritizing that first will make you more successful in all walks of life, not just in education. So those are two things I have. Lynn, I don't know if you have anything else to add.
Well, for any student, I always say, try something that you're not going to be amazing at. So for me, I joined Mizzou ballroom dancing because I have 2 left feet. And the reason why I did it is because college is your time to learn. So go take those classes that you weren't expecting or that you just kind of found interesting, and then really try to gain something besides just an education out of college, because it's also about the experiences. I still have 2 left feet, but it was like a good learning moment for me. So whenever students are coming in, my best advice is always like, yes, join things that you're naturally already good at or that you love, but also maybe branch out and push yourself a little harder.
I have great advice from both you guys. One last one here, and it is, what's something that kind of has pleasantly surprised you about the return to the academic term? Obviously, we've all had kind of some question marks and apprehension, but what's something that's really heartened you or surprised you about being back at Mizzou?
So one of the benefits of online schooling, because some of my classes are online, is the availability. So earlier in the year, I wasn't able to sign up for a class because it was full. And now since it's online, it's provided me like the opportunity to actually take that class that I wouldn't have had to take earlier. So I actually have enjoyed that aspect of college, really.
Yeah, I think I agree with Lynn on that too. And I think the one thing that I've been so impressed by again is the matter of the faculty who have done so much work to be accommodating in this time has been incredible. You know, I'm always so gracious for that. I know as a student who's super busy with the schedule of my job, but in addition, I mean, I think when things come up with, you know, potential COVID cases or isolation or anything else, professors have been so available to make accommodations for those kinds of students. And I've always said we've got some of the best faculty in the country. And I think that's been proven now more than ever.
Well, Lynn and Anthony, we so appreciate you sharing a little bit about what the Mizzou experience is like. I know our alumni across the country wish you the very best, are grateful for the way that you lead on behalf of our institution. So thanks so much, and MIZ.
ZOU.
Really good. We're certainly blessed with incredible student leaders, also blessed with incredible volunteers. And I want to extend our full Black and Gold gratitude to Sabrina and Robin for planning and hosting this first ever virtual alumni leadership conference. Obviously, it has not been without its snags or tricks, but it has been such a joy to get to put this on with the two of you. Your MA staff has had a blast pulling it together, despite the frantic last few minutes, and truly been inspired by just the innovation and thoughtfulness that Robin and Sabrina have poured into really reimagining what this tradition is for MAA and our volunteer network. So many thanks to you both.
Thank you too, Jason. Thank you very much.
I'll jump in next. I want to thank our students. And for those of you who Dr. Stackman wasn't able to join us, please send in those questions. We will get you the answers. He had full intention. And, you know, we kind of, you know, jinxed ourselves. We thought that we hadn't had any technological issues. So to Dr. Stackman, we're sorry that this happened on your watch. Before we break for lunch, we want to thank all of our presenters and panelists. Thank you for all your questions. We could not get to all of them, but we have saved every single one, and we'll get them answered if we did not get to it live. Thank you to the MA staff, and special thanks to the Leaders Weekend Dream Team Planning for this conference. That's Sabrina McDonald, Jason Meyer, Stephanie Anderson, Morgan Kapitsky, Molly Landers-Buckler, and Terry Ogden. And most of all, thank you for joining us today. We hope you have takeaways about the opportunities ahead for Mizzou, but please help by sharing Mizzou's story with fellow alumni, with family, with friends, with everyone. I've been watching social media and I see lots of you are posting. We love that. Thank you. Thank you for the passion and commitment you have for Mizzou and the Mizzou Alumni Association. Let's step even more to make Mizzou stronger. You are Mizzou's best advocates and ambassadors. Thank you.